Hey, Wesley, back at it, aren't we, buddy?
We are, and I got to tell you, I was saying to you off air that it has been a minute since we've seen each other.
It has, and I'm going to see half of you whenever I do see you because you're just
That's
looking
right.
good.
Thank you.
Yeah, hitting the ecliptical. That is that a
The
word?
elliptical.
Elliptical.
Well, you know
Whatever
that
that
comes
walking
from
thing is, whatever that thing is you've been doing it, man.
the elliptical.
Yeah, that's right. I can't say it. I use them on when I type, but that's an ellipsis. But okay, whatever. I mean, I don't do all the words, so
That's good
anyway.
stuff. Well, I
Yeah,
don't either.
well, that's all right. But you know what? Yeah, we were just talking off air that maybe in early part of July we'll break bread again, or you know, Dr. Pepper or something.
It's always good to meet up and get a good bro hug and see what we can shake up in the industry. I can tell you that I don't think I have left one single meeting with you where I didn't get in the car and write a few things down and then we implement it later.
We do.
Yeah.
We implement every time we talk. We come up with something. We just had one earlier with Chris that caused us to think about something, which I hope you wrote down because I forgot already. So
Yeah, I think it was something to the effect of Building Wins Live, powered by Source One Marketing.
I like that.
So,
Let's try
yeah,
that.
it's got a
Welcome
ring
to
to it.
Building Wins Live, powered by Source One Marketing.
Yeah,
Boom! I
I
like
love it.
that.
I
Look
love
at
it. I
that.
think I'm going to have to get busy in Canva as soon as we get off of here and start sending you a
I think so.
few little drafts. But hey,
Can
you
we have
know
like
what?
bursts and bubbles and stars though? I mean, I
Oh,
kind
we
of
can do all that. We can
okay.
do all that. But I'll
You
tell
can
you
do
what,
everything.
before we start talking about all the bells and whistles of the show, we're going back to the industry today.
We are, and we got Chris here. I forgot he's in the back room. He's probably eating all the grapes
Yeah,
up and the Dr. Pepper and crackers and the little cheese dip from. Hey, Chris, don't eat it all. That was like 3 weeks old, but that's all right.
that's right.
Let's go do Chris then.
Let's get Chris.
I forgot he was there.
Yeah,
Not really.
we could just go on and on. We usually do.
We do. All right, let's go.
All right.
You got to be kidding me. Look at this. We're together again 2 weeks in a row.
It's awesome, but I'm still looking for those grapes, man. Where are they at?
Well, okay, I ate the grapes. The cheese bucket's kind of hidden, but I wouldn't eat that. I thought the green things in it were chives, but maybe it's mold. Could be. Hey, we're low budget here, man. Come on. You're just lucky you
Yeah,
got
no. Amen, brother.
Good to see you, man. So Chris, you're the director of construction lending at the Barndo Loan Pros. Ready? Powered by First Rotor Bank of Kansas City. I love that, man. That's good stuff.
Yeah, it's a good brand, and we enjoy what we do, taking our financing options to the nation. It's been fun to scale out and be in and around the post-it frame industry, and just exciting. It's a mind shift, culture change from neighborhoods to the big tracts of land. So people,
Yes,
it's just nice to be in and around.
it is, and I really love what you're doing because it's. I'm going to say it's probably odd from what I've seen from a banker. You're out in the trenches, man. You're building this business, and I love that. We've met up numerous times at different industry events. I think we were together at Oklahoma City, if I'm not mistaken, at the NFBA. We was together at Wisconsin Frame Builders. We were just together last week at the Post Frame. Let me get this right for him. Post Frame Rural Builder Plane Builder show. It's a lot to remember. In York, PA last week, and actually you served on a panel that I moderated about this great subject of barn dominiums. Man, that was a good time.
Yeah, you're missing the first time I met is Ohio in January, and where were we? I forget where we were in Ohio, but it was the local AA deal up there. So
Oh yeah. That's right. You came. That's the first time we got a bro hug from you. That's right. It
yeah,
was in Ashland University at the Buckeye Frame Builders. That's right.
yeah.
I guess
Give
that's
you a
how well I
shameless
remember
plug
that.
for yeah.
I like
Sorry, I
shameless
give you
plug.
a shameless. Yeah, that's where you give me your book, and read it, and it's helped me and my team behind me. So I appreciate you on that, man.
Well, I appreciate that. That's right. That was great when you came up to that. So my point of all that is for the folks listening. Obviously, financing is a big part because not everybody has a $700,000, $800,000, or $1,200,000 or $1,500,000 or whatever to just plop down and build a barn door, and so they need financing. And what I really enjoy, and I said it a minute ago, and I can't say it enough, Chris, is you're a guy in the trenches. You're just not the suit and tie guy sitting in an office saying, "Well, here, fill out this stuff on an iPad and send it in to me. We'll see what we can do." I mean, you're out there promoting the industry, networking with people, which I sort of kind of like networking just a little bit, and and being in the industry, you're really living in it and not off it, which is something that I really love. So let's talk about what this crazy thing, this crazy world that we live in, and we talk about. Tell us about barndominiums and where, and from your view, and where the financing comes into play. Because as we talked on the panel last week, that's sort of like maybe the first thing somebody ought to figure out, right? Is talk to their bankers about job number one, even before you talk to a realtor or a builder, right? You better figure out kind of how this thing's going to play out. So walk us through that process, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, when they start thinking about this, the first thing they need to think about, or should think about, I would suggest, right, advise, is what their budget is. What can they get qualified for? What do they want their payments to look like after the thing's 100% complete? Um, I would highly tell them to start with their banker or their financial planner as they plan for the future. Before they go start talking to an architect or a builder or the supplier or the GC. Because the first questions out of those guys or gals' mouth is going to be, what's the scale and scope, and what's your budget? And they're probably going to look at them cross-eyed, and that's what the builder needs to know. Kind of, are you building 300 or are you building 800? Where are you at, and are you pre-approved? Coming to a bank or you're talking to your financial planner on how you're going to get this thing funded. It's one thing the builders should always ask up front before they even start talking to the clients is, where's the money coming from, in a positive way. You don't want to be overly intrusive, but for them to get left off and get shovels in the ground, they're going to have to understand your scale, scope, and budget. And I would say start there. How many bedrooms you want, how much garage space do you want? These are all questions we ask in our discovery calls. And when we sit down with clients, we really want to hear the whole story, get to know them, and where are they at in this process, and when do they prefer shovels are going to hit the ground?
Well, and that's a good point, because I know that got discussed last week again on the panel because it's so close historically. And I think Joe or somebody else brought up quite a bit that what you just said is that this is not just for a builder. This is not just, I'm going to put together a garage package for out back. That's not that time consuming for a builder, but putting it together a complete barn door project is a lot of time. And they're probably going to be pretty hesitant, if refuse altogether, to get too far into this thing if there's no chance in the world that what you want to build is going to be 900 grand and the best you can get is 300, right? So they're just not going to do it, right? I mean, why would they do that? There's a point where they're going to spend weeks of worth of work to get to a point that, oh, I can't get any money anyway, right? So that's pretty important. And I know we talked about that last week. So the who, what, why, where, and when that we talk about since grade school, I guess, really comes into play here, right? When they come to the banker.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, first question out of our mouth, where are you at in the journey? And we just listen to kind of, take a step back and listen, time frame and where they're wanting to go. And that, some people are 30 days out. They got the whole thing. They've already talked to the builder. They know they can get qualified with the bank, and we're closing in 30 or 35 days. Some people are very, very early on. We'll tend to push a lot of people towards content. We have a lot of content on our website. We have a lot of content around us. You and I know a lot of people in the industry. We can, push them over their websites for content to just kind of get them, looking at all the different things and parameters on the scale, scope. And you could put builder grade stuff in there. You could put high end custom finishes. Makes a big difference on that budget. So when we're listening to that story and journey, we're taking notes, and they might call us back in 3 days, and they might call us back in 6 months. You just never know.
Right. And I know, again, some conversations we've had together, you talked scope a minute ago, and that's so important because, again, even a horse barn or something a little more than just a backyard pole barn maybe takes a little extra step or two, but you're building a house, right? And I think that's something that came up last week or a couple weeks ago at the show on our panel, was that it's really, yes, it might be a post frame structure or a steel building structure, but you're building a house, right? And in many cases, a custom house. So many, maybe the very basic initial structure is different, but everything after that, especially interior wise, you're building a home, right? And you don't typically go start building a custom built stick built home in 30 days, right? So people, I think, and talk to this if you would, Chris, because I think a lot of people look at, I'm going to build a barn door, whatever that is, because it's cheap. I'm going to build it because it's fast. I can get into it quickly. There's a little bit of expediency there, right? I mean, from the shell part of it. But again, once the shell's done, all that interior stuff, it doesn't matter what the structure is, right? Other than obviously the walls can be moved and you can change a little bit easier and some of those things. But I think there's some misperceptions out there. And you touched on it earlier. Oh, I can get into this for a couple $100,000. Yeah, well, probably not, right? So I think, I mean, I know a mutual friend of ours, Stacy Lynn. I think you know Stacy and Oliver, the Barnum Mini Company. They talked about one time, and I was with them a few months ago. They said, in a lot of areas, you can't put a double wide on a piece of land for $100,000. So I mean, you're sure not going to be building any kind of a structure, right? So I think that's an important part that people understand. So, anyways, I talked like 3 minutes longer than I meant to, but I haven't talked to anybody all day. I've been bored. What do you say to all that?
We look at it as a traditional residential home. It's your primary or secondary home. There are some unique parameters we try to stay in our guidelines. Our goal, we provide a construction loan, right, to get it funded, and then we want to take that out at the end and get it to a secondary market loan. Most people know that's a Fannie or Freddie loan, so they can get to the lower long-term fixed rate. That's the goal. Lower the rate and lower the payment, right? There's some parameters around that. You want to stay within 60-40 variance of living to 40% garage space, and that's not a hard number. You can go 50-50, but if you're building a 80% garage and 20% living space, it's the marketability and the comparable sales around that's just not going to support that. There's just not going to be there. The comparable sales for the appraisal to get the secondary market appetite to get that thing sold to Fannie or Freddie when they do the takeout loan. But back to the scale and scope, it is a home. I mean, the only thing different to us is it's on a slab. They're rarely on a foundation. We've been doing construction loans here since 1948, so we've seen a lot of different plans come across our desk, and several teams before me kind of laid the foundation out there. But back to the scale and scope, it's nothing different unless you're building a unicorn on 100 acres out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, then it's a unicorn. If it's a 5,000 square foot garage, and it needs to conform to the market, and that's the way we look at it as the bank. Is you can go get a loan on it, but you might get 10, 11, 12%, but how are you going to get out of that rate and get into a lower fixed rate to get to Fannie or Freddie in the end? It's got to conform to the market. And I'll ramble about that forever because it's a big hurdle to jump when people call you, as the clients call you, and they want to build that big old shop and not a lot of living space. So
Gotcha. So that 60/40 is interesting. So, and another conversation you and I've had a couple times, couple places at least, if not more, is conforming. And I think you just used that word a minute ago. You got to have comparisons, right? When you're looking for financing, that can be a bit of a hurdle at times, right? Or a struggle that homeowners may have. How do they work through that? Because they're going to build a metal frame or post frame building and make it a living quarters, make it a barn door, but there might not be any other barn doors in the community. Now, number one, that's probably why working with somebody like the Barn Door Pros makes sense, because you understand that language, you understand how to get around those hurdles, and I think that's a big advantage to what you guys bring to the table, because a typical local banker who's probably a great people, do great stuff, but they're not going to see barn dominiums as from the same light as somebody that does it on a regular basis, right?
we've seen a lot come across our desk, a lot of complaints from other banks, and I'm not here to look. We
Mm-hmm.
need a lot of banks, and competition's good, but It's the lack of communication and the discovery questions up front. If you see the unicorn, you need to have the conversation up front with your client, or maybe with all parties involved, the supplier and the general contractor, and say, hey, you're building a unicorn. Are there comparable sales around you? I mean, my HQ, my headquarters is over in the Midwest in Kansas City, Missouri. If you're building out in Georgia somewhere, I don't know what's going on in your market. I can't physically come down there, drive the market like we used to in the old days as bankers and look around. I don't have eyes on that specific market you're building in, but the client does, the builder does, the GC does, and it's we try to handle that up front. So when they send us the plans and it looks like a unicorn, and I hate using that, it's a conversation you need to have and be truthful and open and honest with the client. Is like, hey, we can give this a shot, but I don't know what it looks like in your market, and it really comes down to the appraisal. It's such a heavily weighted thing in the banking industry for the loan file that um, until that appraisal comes back, we really don't know. And if there's not a lot of barn doors around, that's okay. Our appraisers, and a good bank knows this, and this is not a hard rule in underwriting, Randy, but they can go out 5 miles, 10 miles. We've gone out 45 miles to find a barnuminium. But if it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a oversized garage, it's going to conform to a regular stick-built home, a traditional home that you think you're building. I mean, it's the same thing. It's just it needs to conform to the market, and we prefer to have one barn door comp. But it's also, if there's a bunch of 3 bedrooms, 2 baths with oversized garage or outbuildings around you, you're probably going to be all right.
So something you said there is interesting. So you'd like a barn door, but the comparison to size, square footage, and some of the other issues are more important. But I think when you talk about unicorns, if you're got 3 boys that you think are going to be aspiring NBA basketball players someday, and you want to build this barn door with a enclosed basketball court like maybe some NBA stars might have, probably not any comps within 100 miles of you, 500 miles of you, right? So I think that's a big unicorn and probably unlikely. But what I think what you're saying is, the sooner they talk to you, the sooner they figure that out. You're going to give them the questions to ask, and you're going to help guide them way before they get to, situation like that. Maybe you don't build it quite this way. Maybe you build a separate building, then do that on your own someday, because we're probably never going to finance that thing for you, and probably nobody is. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but I'm just saying that I think that's where early on comes into play. But you struck another thing is and we've kind of touched on these, but let's help barn door builders that may be listening and want to get started, but also homeowners that are thinking they want to have their dream barn door. What is a barn door? And I know we kind of touched on that earlier, but I think that's a question that everybody says is, I heard this name a lot. I think I want a barn door. I want a barnuminium. But I know you talked about the fact that it's a got the 60-40 relationship at minimum, or at I guess at minimum. But what else makes a barn door? I mean, why is it a barn door instead of what's the key 2 or 3 things that you go, well, you're not really looking to build a barn door, you're looking to build a house. What's the differentiator there?
Great question. Yes, somebody took a barn way back when, many moons ago, and made it a house, right? That's probably where the barn door name came from, the barndominium name came from. But for us, the only differences we see in what I would call a barndominium and our bank and how we look at things, it's metal siding, metal roof, and it's free of beams in the weight. It's all on the outside walls. It's very open with an open oversized garage. I mean, that's what we see, or shop, I should say, an attached shop. Other than that, that's, to me, to my team, that's the way we look at them. We look at them as a residence, but it just has metal framing, metal siding, and it's a big garage attached to their living quarters.
There you go. Well, and the other thing I think too, again, correct me if I'm wrong, my wife does it all the time, so feel free, is that that's not that funny, is that there's a Arcadian lifestyle that people are looking for too, right? It's there. I feel like everybody I ever talked to about barnuminiums, it's almost more of a lifestyle than it is just a structure. There's advantages to it, but what they're really looking for is a little acreage of land. They're going to have a couple horses. They're going to have our ATVs can run around. They can go fish in the little back pond behind the woods. They're really trying. It's I think, and that's where those discovery questions come into play. Is to me not always probably. There's never 100% on anything, but a lot of it, I think, is that people are going, I want this lifestyle. And that's why you ask those questions. What are you looking for? Because you're not looking to probably put this in a neighborhood with everybody 12 feet apart from you. That's probably, I guess you could, but that's what, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't most people looking for a certain get away from the world lifestyle as
Yeah,
well?
I think it's a de-stressor. You can't comment on the world. It's a pretty evil place at times and politically divided, and that we don't want to go down that road today. But it's really a culture for the family, right? It's a family homestead. They just want their family. They want their kids or their toys or their big trucks for their go in the shop. And we see that they just don't want neighbors, and they just want to be with their family. They go to work every day and they want to go home and relax and be in peace in nature and not have to worry about mowing the yard or having HOAs and so on and so forth. We see that a lot. A lot of people are doing family. I mean, a lot of clients come to us. A good portion of clients come to us, and it's, hey, we're buying this 50-acre tract. We're going to chop it up into 3 or 4 different bricks, and we're going to live over here. My kids are going to live over there. Mom and dad, we're going to build them. They're getting older. They're going to be over there on that, 5 acres. We see that a lot. And it's just a culture shift. Funny you brought up neighborhoods. There's enclaves and subdivisions going on right here in Kansas City, believe it or not. There's I'm going to butcher it, but there's like a 70, 80 acre tract of land that somebody broke up and is going to do a barndominium subdivision. So I think you'll see more of that just because they like the look of it and they like that it's open space inside the house, depending on how they build it, right? But um, it was like somebody's building a neighborhood of like a subdivision here in our backyard in Kansas City. So it's out in the suburbs. I mean, little rural, but those things are coming to life, enclaves and subdivisions. But it's 95%. It's clients looking for land or already have land, or their family passed down land.
Right. Well, and you touched on something, and we touched on it a little bit earlier, but that's to me one of the real nice thing about a barn door is because it's a free span structure, whether it's steel or wood. Um, you're not limited by load bearings and those kind of things for trusses. I mean, you literally you could build this building free span anyway. You're just going inside and sticking walls wherever you want them. So the nice thing with that, I think, obviously there's sometimes costs that are involved with the builder, and you got to work through those. But if you get into this project and you go, man, I'm walking the house, and I know you just put that wall up, but what would happen if we moved that 8 foot that way, did this? Uh, you don't always get to do that in traditional construction because that was designed to basically be a certain way, right? There's a lot more flexibility with that as well, which I think is cool. And I think a lot of people with barn doors, and I've been in several where it's like it's like the Taj Mahal inside of space. It's like this massive great room that is very much easier to build, I think, in this type of construction, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, engineered plans here in the city it calls for a permit, right? Your county,
Hmm.
you got regulators and regulation all over you. You move anything load bearing, it's a back to the architect, back to the budget. Let's bid it out. Barndos, you have that flexibility to do that. To your point, and you brought up Stacy Lynn earlier. Yeah, I know Stacy and Oliver, and they're great people, and pioneers of the industry. Really, if you take this thing to social platforms, and they're building high-end dollar ones, right? And they got some lower-end plans, but they're up. You can spend as much money as you want,
Right.
and then you got Mr. and Mrs. Post Frame. I mean, they got plans that you can a lot of content with them. A lot of information over there. Paul and Emily, and live with back 40 buildings. You can buy a print and everything's done for you, and you can move it around and they can change it for you. And it's very flexible in the barndominium space with the load on the outside walls and not interior, to your point.
Exactly. So let's switch over to the builder for a minute. If you're in the business and if you're doing it on a regular basis, like a lot of people we know are, but if you're getting started relatively new, what can they do to help their potential customer make this process smoother? Outside of first saying call Chris immediately, but outside of that, what can they do? What can a builder do to help move this along and to help be the trusted advisor that we all want to be if we can, with their client or potential client?
Ask their story in the discovery, the first call, like, scope and budget, right? It's
so it's the same thing you're going to do.
Yeah, they're just need to listen to their clients. And Joe last week on the panel, if you're watching this, Joe, I'm sorry, but you kind of negative at times, but he's like, where's the money coming from? It's just a regular house. Stop calling it a barn door, right? And look, to his point, some of what he's talking about is right. And it's builders, just listen to the client and hear what they want to do. And can you provide that? Don't overpromise and underdeliver, and get education. There's so many resources out there, through the NFBA resources. There's so much content. Know what you're doing. Don't overpromise. And this is the warning from the bank, and this is not going to sound great, but don't say you can build it for 350 when it's going to cost them 450. Be honest and open. I mean, we've ran into that problem several times, and it's bad when everybody's coming back to the bank for more money. Let's just put it that way.
Well, that's a great point, Chris, because that kind of comes into play everywhere, right? From the standpoint that the overpromise, underdeliver thing gets you in trouble every time. So you're better off having the discussion. You're not getting in this for 350. You're certainly not with me, and probably with anybody. So let's is there a way we can get more money? Or we're going to have to scale down and maybe add something later. What does that look like? But there's no sense. The homeowner's getting their heart set on this. The bank's spending a bunch of time. The builder going through all this to find out that, what do you mean it's $495,000? I thought it was $350. I can't do $495. Well, the best way for no is as soon as possible in anything, right? Nobody wants no, but let's get to no before we all spend a lot of time on it, right? And I think that's a big point.
Yeah. And, clients come to us that we've seen plans a lot at 125 a foot, our comfort level, builder grade. And this is not a hard rule either. Every underwriting of the file is unique to the client and the scope and the appraisal, but when you come to us and you have a budget of 125 or 100, and you're going to do a lot of elbow grease in there and sweat equity, we understand that. It's going to cost you less. But for us as a bank, if anything's coming to us below 175, red flags are going off. 175 a foot, I should say. Red flags are going off, and we're looking, hey, do they have the capacity to carry a contingency of 10%? What do their reserves look like? Because, I tell people plan to go over 5 or 10%. It's just kind of where we're at. And the builders can't hit the mark exactly all the time. I mean, subs are subs and bids are bids. If you got your bids today and you're not shovels in the ground for 4 months, those are new bids, so when they show up, and being prepared. But back to the cost per square foot, we look at that. I mean, we spend a lot of time on that to ensure, man, do we have a comfort level they can get this done? And we're not rooting against you, because they'll be like, oh, you're trying to push my loan amount up or get more in closing costs. No, we're not. We're looking out for you. And here's the thing. If you don't use it in your loan, you'll never pay interest on it.
That makes sense. So kind of a off the wall question, but have you ever had a project where, everything's just wrong? This is never going to fly. Everything about this, but you stuck with it. The homeowner stuck with it. The builder stuck with it. And at the end of the day, you ended up with a really nice project. And I guess my point is, there's a point to where, okay, this is not going to work. And we've kind of talked from that. But when is, I got to walk away for the customer, maybe.
It's so different file by file, client by client. There's some we have done many ones that I like, I don't see this happening. But you go through the process, right? We're not here to tell people no. We're an equal opportunity lender. Uh, get that in there for my compliance team. They'll love that, but it's the truth. We want to succeed. We're not here to tell people no. And but you have the conversations up front. Hey, this is some red flags. This is what we're seeing. But do you want to move forward? And we prepare the client. And sometimes they do work out, and sometimes they don't. So um, it's just having that conversation, and just don't overpromise. You just tell them. I mean, hey, this is how it's going to look. We think, but if you want to move forward, we want to move forward with you. We don't want to waste your money on spending money on an appraisal, but it's up to you. I mean, we're in the fight with you. So
Right. Well, and I think that's a good point you just made. Is as a bank, your business, your service is you don't make money unless you give somebody money and make the interest back, right? That's your business. That's what you do. So,
yeah,
and I know sometimes probably to borrowers, it can seem like they're just making this way too hard. They want all these questions. They don't want they don't want to loan me this money. They don't want to do the job. And I think you answered it very well. Is at the end of the day, yes, you do. Nothing I want to do more than to loan you this $600,000, right? That's what we do. My products are, I want you to buy this truck of stuff, whatever that is, right?
yeah,
But if it's not the right stuff for you, or you can't afford to pay me up front and you have no credit, we got to get through all of that before I can get you the truck of stuff, right? And it's no different here. I mean, and I think that's a great point, because I think a lot of people look at that as, oh, they just ask all these questions. They're just trying to not do this. I would assume you'd say, this is never going to work as soon as you could in the process, if that was really the case, because you don't want to waste your time or their time if it's absolutely undoable. I mean, I suppose you want to borrow $1 million and you got a 410 credit. That's probably zero chance. So let's not, waste
yeah.
anybody's time, right? But
Yeah, and you just have that open and honest conversation with them if they're banged up for whatever reason, or their debt to income's a little tight, or their reserve aren't there to support the capacity to carry the loan. You have that honest conversation. Hey, go get this credit cleaned up and come back to us in 6 to 12 months, or whatever it may be. Let's chop wood. And you know, I have said so many times over my career, I'm not here to tell people no. I don't want your funding. And you respect clients. And to your point, yeah, out of every 100 loans we do, 95 people love us, but there's 5 people that are like, man, you made that really hard on us. Well, we're calculating risk. We've seen a lot of loans and builds come across our desk in our 90-year history of doing construction loans, that we're just trying to eliminate the hurdles and the roadblocks that may or may not happen. And if the client is open to that communication and the wisdom from the bank side of things, 95 of them love us. But it's just sometimes you got to dig up more paperwork, or you have to do this or do that just to get the approval. And there's nothing more than us to get it closed and get your builder started and have the shovels hit the ground. So
there you go. Awesome. So 2 last things. You've been very kind with your time today, Chris. One is I know we may have touched on it at the beginning, but where do you guys loan in the U.S.? You're pretty national, right?
yeah, we scaled out nationally 4 years ago. We loan in every state except New York, Hawaii, and Alaska. Um, I can't tell you the reasons behind that. I mean, it's just a bank decision, but it's fun. I say stuck. It's not stuck. We've had a 90-year history of doing loans here in the Midwest, but going out and seeing different things and different styles and builds and talking to people across the country has been fun for us. I do want to make it a point, Randy, me, a couple of my teammates, but it takes a village of us to do these things. And the magic really happens behind the scenes after the loan closes, and how we get this thing funded and do draws. Our draw team, decades of experience, seeing 50,000 draws, it's a village to make this happen, is what I'm trying to say. I don't want to be kind of the front person, but it's a huge team behind us that makes the true magic happen.
There you go. Good stuff. So not in Hawaii, so that means we're not doing me a barn door for me on Waikiki Beach, I take it. So there we go.
Yeah, you're close to a beach anyway, aren't you?
Well, that's true, but I just want to spread out a little bit. Spread my wings, Chris. I want to spread
Yeah.
my wings.
Well, you're going to
So
retire at 98, I think. So
at 98, maybe I might go for 100 just because I think it'd be fun. What else am I going to do? At 100, I'd be so bored. I'm already bored now. What would I do then? You know, I don't want to get bored. I hate being bored. Anyway, last thing, should ask questions. SAQ. What is Chris Miller, the Barndo guy, the Barndo loan guy, anywhere, whether it's with a builder group, some customers, out on the street, having dinner in Kansas City someplace, whatever the case is, and the subject comes up at all, what do you wish people would ask that they just never do? What's the one question we're all missing in Chris Miller's mind?
you know, it's hard to answer just one question.
Maybe two or three. We got time.
Yeah, I mean, the advice, if I wish people would ask us more about their appraisal and the comparables around their market. Usually it's a discovery question coming from us. Um, we would hope they would ask, what have you seen go wrong? What am I missing? And is my budget tight enough? And can I get this funded at 175 a foot or 500 a foot? We've seen it all across the board. Trust me. It's the cost per square foot, the marketability around them. They need to be aware of the market for the comparable sales for the appraisal. But I would ask clients to come to us and say, what am I missing? Here's my package, and just be open for feedback, because we'll give it constructively, of course.
Mhm.
And it's that wisdom comes from years and decades of experience doing construction loans.
There you go. So we've been putting up on the screen how to get a hold of you. Just don't call from Hawaii, I guess, or New York or Alaska. But outside of that, call Chris and his team. Like you said, I over the years got to know several people from your organization, from your bank, and you're sitting right here at the pinnacle of leading this thing. And it's a pleasure to know you. And I love what you do for the industry. I said it early on, but I'm going to say it again because. You're leading up front with the financing end of this, and I think as an industry, I appreciate it being in the supplier side of things because I understand that there's a lot of levels down from the stuff I make, and if my supplier doesn't buy from me, I don't sell anything. But it goes downhill, right? If his builder doesn't buy from him, he doesn't sell anything, which means if the homeowner doesn't build this project, right? That's where it all starts. So that's what I'm trying to say is keep loaning money, man. Just go loan money.
Well, yeah, no, amen, brother. And our board is really excited about this product line. I can tell you that the whole team is, the whole company is, and we're excited to continue to scale out this platform more. And you had brought up industry. We like to support the industry. We're sponsors of the NFBA. We're National Home Builders Association too. Here locally in Kansas City, we've been members of the HBA, Home Builders Association in Kansas City, since 1948. We like to give back to our community and support the people in the industry around us too. We're honored to do that. For you and I, your supplier, they need funding. Everybody needs funding, and it's typically a bank. And aligning yourself with a strategic partner like us or any bank that does it the right way is a smart thing to do, and a good thing to have in your stable is a good bank.
There you go. Awesome. Chris, thank you for your time. Thank you for all you do for the industry. We love you. Appreciate you. And we'll talk soon, eh?
Yeah, man. Good being here. Thank you, Randy.
Anytime. All right. Chris Miller, the Barndo Loan Pros, powered, boom, by the First Federal Bank of Kansas City. Like I said, I know several of these people and got to know Chris well. First class operation, first class people. Bill Barndo. So the ending thing I got to say, and I never know if I've ever said this, so hang with me, but love what you do what you love. Make today your best day ever. Until tomorrow. Let's go.